The champ is here.
The champ is here. He's back.
He's back to defend his title. What's going on, Paul?
How's it going, man? How's it going?
Good, good. We're always excited to have a conversation with you. We've been following you for a while now. Obviously, I was following you a little bit before we had you on the show last time, but I think you were one of our first guests on the show. So,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say like episode 4 or 5, I think. And so, man, we're just always excited to chat with you because you have such a unique perspective. I mean, on life, just because of all the stuff you're involved with and all the things that you do. And I say this sometimes for guests I have on the show that are really busy. Somehow you manage to get even busier since we last had you on the show. Like the first time we're like, dang, this dude's always on the go. And now it's like, I don't even know how you were able to squeeze us in for a podcast.
It's funny that you say that too, because I just got back and then I was fiddling with my motorcycle and I got home like 10 minutes in. I'm like, oh my God, I have a podcast at like 7:55. I set alarm. Like my alarm system's atrocious right now. You'll see like something will be like 7:50, 7:51, 7:52, just all these different reminders to help keep me in track. Because at the end of the day, if I don't do that, then I won't be able to keep track on anything I do at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Let me ask you this. What time do you wake up in the morning, if you don't mind me asking?
It's okay. Here's the thing, and I'll be 100% real with you guys. As an entrepreneur, when you don't really have a set day or time, it's like you can make your day either grow exponentially or you could just be a lazy POS and not do anything. You know what I mean? So I average around 6 or 7 in the morning, but on my days off, if I've worked those like long 8 to 10 hour days, or even 5 to 6, 7 or 8, those days on my in quotes day off, or a day I just want to give myself off, dude, I'll leave that alarm off and I'll just kind of put my phone on do not disturb, wake up when the sun hits my eyeballs, and just kind of enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, like being an entrepreneur is great and all, but like you reap the rewards. Like if you can't enjoy it, then what's the point of doing everything? You know what I mean? What's the point of being super busy and not being able to enjoy yourself?
Yeah.
100%.
Awesome. I mean, I admire entrepreneurs so much because I know that entrepreneur life is not for me at all. Like, if I don't have someone hovering over me, like a bot, like I would love to live I don't have a boss life. Like, trust me, I don't know anyone who wouldn't, but like, if I don't have some type of someone hovering over me, like you need to be here on time, this is your schedule. Okay. I don't think I would do it. Like, there's lots of things in my life that I slacked on, like my books, my current podcast. I'm not getting episodes out. So I really admire John. I'm just calling my own bullshit out, but like,
I'm just listening.
I really admire entrepreneurs because that is some dedication. Like you have to just go. And it's your passion. But if you want to get it done, like you're the one who has to get it done. So that's awesome.
Yeah. The hard part is though, honestly, it's like I have to fight my demons every day because like, I think my biggest adversary is myself. Literally, if I wake up, and I'm like, because I don't have like a specific timestamp, I'd be like, oh man, it's such a nice day out. Maybe I'll just not go to work today. You know what I mean? Like I set myself my own mantra to make sure that every day I wake up, I get my shit done. Because if I don't, and I don't put myself in that position or mindset, then my businesses aren't going to do well. And that's the hard and kind of shitty part of being an entrepreneur, is because if you can put your 12 hours in, or 24 or 25/8, and then you'll see the rewards and benefits when you push yourself. But you'll also see the negative side of the things if you don't do anything. You know what I mean? Even on those days off I have that I talk about when I wake up late, I almost feel bad when I do that, because then those like extra 4 or 5 hours that I could have got something done, did a promotion, social media, got extra clothing out or something like that, could have been gone to waste. But you can't have that mindset 24/7. So you're basically an on and off switch when you're an entrepreneur.
Right.
Yeah, that's the tough thing about what you do too, is like there's not there, like Deb said, there's not a set schedule. So your phone's always on you, unless you make that constant or that consistent effort not to have it on you. And at any point you might be putting out a fire, you might, have a creative idea that you just got to get out. It's like,
Exactly.
it's like this shadow that constantly follows you, right? Like you can't really escape it. And once you choose that path, you kind of, if you want it to work, like you said, you kind of have to just lean into it.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah. Hey man, I want to go back just a little bit. So like I said, we have, I don't think I said this. If you're new to the podcast, we have Paul Pearcey. He's the owner of Bxactiv. I actually was wearing your shirt yesterday on the 4th of July. It's one of my favorite, and I'm not just saying this. I love the shirt. It's the orange logo. It's white with orange logo on the front.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Super comfortable, man. And I always love it too, because I got a shirt from you guys a while ago, and it was all within a year, but the quality like just there was a huge increase in the quality just from that short amount of time. And I love when brands do that because it's obvious that the owner, the people who are in charge of putting everything together, like really care about the product. So I just wanted to mention that first, man, that like it's a dope shirt and I love what you guys do, but so do a bunch of other people, Deb, because there's a reason this dude won the Guest of the Year contest that we have. Because so many people love you, man, and they love your brand, and you received a ridiculous amount of votes. And that's, you know, it's fun to get the engagement. It's fun marketing for our podcast. You know, the name gets out there. But the thing I love most about that competition that we do is it really does show our guests and the people who have on the show how much people love them and how much people love their business. Like when you were in the middle of that contest, like obviously you're crazy busy, but did you feel that love with all the people who supported you?
Well, it's cool because you never realize how many people follow or watch the brand until you do a contest like that. You know what I mean? And I think it's cool, and it's more motivating for myself to be able to push out more product and be the better person than yesterday. Because at the end of the day, I almost had that tendency feeling of like, if I'm not pushing myself, then what are these people like waiting for me or like rooting for me to go? Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not doing them any justice. You know what I mean? And for me, it helps self-motivates myself when I see people be like, no, like you go, you're doing awesome. Like that's cool that I've seen you grow from 2015 to now. And it's just like, wow, like it's really cool to see the people that follow you are like, they're your main support system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And yeah, it wasn't particularly close. And you went up against a monster too, in Tyler Andrade. He is he was not a light opponent. He had a lot of support too, but
he owns the gym over there in Rockland, right? Is that the one I thought we went against?
Yeah, absolute flex appeal.
Yeah, absolutely. The funny thing is, like, I went there a couple of times. I know a lot of the people too. So when I saw, man, this is gonna be a tough one because like this, I watched this guy's fitness. I also watch his journey too as well because he's kind of going through a similar thing as I've been, like starting from nothing to owning one gym to possibilities of doing more things, you know, which is really cool. And like, I got to give him props too as well. End of the day, if I lost to him, I wouldn't even been mad.
Yeah. Hey, I hate when people do this, but I'm going to just say this, man, because I know you have your own podcast and all that. Like he would be a dope guest for you. Like that would be a great conversation.
Oh,
he's one of our favorites.
He's like 10 minutes away from my new office in Lincoln. Just cool.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Deb, I'm sure you have questions, but I'm going to keep going for a second. That's something that Deb and I were talking about beforehand. So when you first came on our podcast, I want to say you were maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks removed from quitting your job at Dutch Bros and then going all in on your business. We have you again, not that far removed from going from your smaller office on Greenback to this new one in Lincoln. So it's like we keep catching you at these times of transition. And obviously as an entrepreneur, you're kind of always in that mindset. I'm sure like you're always looking for the next thing and how you're going to transition to the next bigger and better thing. But like, what has this transition been like for you compared to that first one when we talked to you about a year ago?
It's crazy because now I used to do, I have two businesses, Red Tag Collabs and Bxactiv. And a lot of it was trying to do Red Tag Collabs, trying to connect either famous people or other brands, connect with Bxactiv. But as Bxactiv grew, I was thinking in my head is like, why am I trying to connect all these brands to be with Bxactiv when Bxactiv should be its own entity, its own thing? I want Bxactiv, like whenever I do Bxactiv things, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, that's the guy that collabed with this. I want to be, oh, that's Bxactiv, you know? So we transitioned fully and split apart from our Red Tag Collabs to make Red Tag Collabs its own entity, which is its print shop. So basically now, moving forward since March 1st, when we went to the new warehouse, we split Bxactiv to be its own custom thing. So basically since September, we've been working on, we call it Unit 001, which is a fully cut and sew customized drop that we actually had to get help with designers overseas to help make sure like the fitment, the up to the zippers, the color, even the specific details that we wanted with the clothing to be done. Because before we would do, everything would kind of be in-house. But when you start to do your own brand, like you can't be the workshop person, the designer, the creator, the founder, the owner. It all happens at first at once, and it's all good and all, but your output versus input is going to be terrible if you're doing everything. So then we're thinking in our head, you're like, you know what, like if we're trying to grow and expand, we need to be A, different than everybody else, and B, be able to stabilize ourselves to where we don't have to worry about the end design. And for me, I want to be the fun part of Bxactiv. I want to be the owner, but I also want to be the guy that designs everything. I don't want to be the guy that has to print, that has to do all the little nit detail things. I want to be able to be on the computer, design my own specifications up down to the color, have it sent in, do the sampling back and forth. And then that's what makes the peel so awesome when you're doing your own cut and sew piece. Because at the end of the day, when you get that piece coming in after months of hard work, you're like, yo, this is like Bxactiv. Nobody can compare to this. This is 100% duplicatable. You know what I'm talking. You can't copy it unless you're actually physically copying the specific piece that we come out with. You know what I mean? End of the day, like now we're at that point. We want people to be like, dude, like, would I rather go to Nike and grab these joggers or wait for Bxactiv's new drop coming in? You know. And now that we've got this new warehouse, it's we went from like 2,400 square feet to 3,400 square feet. So we got 1,000 extra square feet. Our ceiling tops, like the one on Greenback was more office spaces, so you probably can think of like 10-foot ceilings tops maybe. Now we have 30-foot ceilings. We put in a $14,000 automatic screen press to do for red tag collabs, which helps output for anything we do with companies. And we have a couple construction companies and a couple clothing businesses that we make for them, and that becomes our, in quotes, day job, because we can have my employees, myself, if I have the time, push all the product out there, and then Bxactiv could be its own entity. Bxactiv could take its own money and then recycle it back in. So during that whole process, man, we changed from trying to collab with everybody to keeping Bxactiv as a solo entity, doing red tag collabs to push other brands, to help create other brands too as well. And then now to the point to where everything's kind of colliding in and coming together to where everything's getting busy. Like, for example, like this, the shirt I'm wearing right now is one of the ones we've been working on. It has like the rubberized logo, even like the different side seams. It even has like a zipper that has like reflective, all this stuff. Like, that's you cool. Wouldn't be able to find anywhere, because this is the stuff and the ideas that came from my head that I was able to design and create. So sorry if that was a little long-winded. I get very passionate when we're talking about what's new and exciting, because I don't want to be the clothing company that everyone's, oh, dude, this guy's just like Live Fit. This guy's just like Raw Gear. Or this guy's just like this. When you think Bxactiv, you're like, honestly, like I don't really know this type of street tech wear other than Bxactiv. You know what I mean? And if I do get compared, if I get compared to someone that has that higher end fashion, that's just a compliment on my end, you know? Yeah,
that's crazy. Already just listening to all that, like you totally have like a business mindset. How do you just, and I'm sure I've already asked this in other episodes, but like maybe just for our new listeners, like how did you learn all that? Or is this something that comes natural to you? Like anyone who's like listening to this and is inspired and like, oh my God, I've been wanting to do something like that or start my own business or something. How, you don't have to get into details because we want to talk to you about other things, but like, how did you learn all of this? I guess in a nutshell.
a lot of YouTube and a lot of I vibe with a lot of people that aspire for the same thing. For example, when I started my old clothing brand Bxactiv, that was like from 2015 up until 18 when I transitioned to Bxactiv. I followed Randall Pitch. I followed a lot of people who started, even the guy that started Gymshark, and they were fairly new within a couple of years. And his story was crazy, where he was sewing his own stuff at home as a pizza delivery guy, made somewhere around $800,000 while doing Gymshark, to the point where he had to transition into Gymshark. And for that, like that type of person inspired me to just throw on my own clothing. But from 2015 to 2018 was kind of a learning experience for 100% for sure, because I invested $200 at first, which wound up doing more investments there, which actually turned into something bad, because I learned so many negative parts of the industry to where it actually made it to where when 2018 happened, I knew what I did wrong from 15 to 18 to help Bxactiv grow and actually be successful. So and I hate to say it for a lot of people, but I feel like end of the day, like any entrepreneur or new entrepreneur, their first like business or their first like endeavor into business might fail. Like there's a 90% chance that first t-shirt business, that first sunglass business, whatever you start, might fail. And you have to come to cope with that and come to terms with that fact that, hey, like if this first business fails, you take those 2 to 3 years or however many years you did, you take all the negative parts, you remember that, you keep it in with you, because you don't want to let go of like what you learned from those 2 to 3 years, and then restart, reassess, find what your niche is, and then go from there. And for me, I found out what my niche was. It wasn't being a bro athletic, it was being active. And it's funny because when you take your passion and you roll with it, it becomes 100 times more successful and easier to promote when you actually vibe with it. And as I got older, I was like, dude, I'm not about the bro aesthetics anymore. You know what I mean? So then that made it to where I had to transition to something to where women, men, everyone could vibe with, and each person has their own journey that they can start from being active.
Yeah. Love it. So a lot of trial and error, lots of failures, like expect to fail basically.
That's my motto.
Yeah.
If you're not failing, you're not winning. Honestly, you got to have both. You got to have both to succeed.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, we like Deb and I have talked about this on our previous sports podcast. Like I feel like it's, in my opinion, it's not truly a failure unless you, like you said, you don't learn from it. If you don't learn from it and you don't use that experience to better yourself for the future, moments in the future endeavors, then yeah, that at that point it is considered a true failure. But if you're using it, like you said, it's just a learning experience. It's growing. It's the water, right, that helps you grow in those moments. So. Yeah. And let me ask you this, man. And maybe you've never felt this way, but I imagine that there's been moments where in your mind this has come across. Like, when's the last time you feel like you like legitimately thought, do I really want to keep doing this? Like when you question the journey that you've been on.
Oh God, the saturation in this market's already insane.
Yeah.
Like if you ever, whatever you do in life, you have to be passionate about it. Because if I wasn't passionate about living active, being active and clothing and designing, dude, I would have quit years ago. You know what I mean? Because picture me starting with $200 to finally making somewhere in the six figures, okay? To waking up, looking on your phone, and then seeing a brand that made 30 million in 1 year. Like, how does that as an entrepreneur affect you to either two different ways? You can either take it and run with it, but you know what? Like, I strive to be like that, or like, you know what? Like, what's the point of me even doing this? They're just going to be better than me anyways. You wake up with that mindset, and like, if you didn't have that entrepreneurial side of yourself to kick your ass and be like, you know what? Like, hey, like, stop looking at that and stay in your own lane, focus and grow with what you're passionate about. I mean, I would have quit years ago. You know what I mean? And that's the hard truth of it, is anything you do, if it's not a niche thing that's something new and exciting for people, we're going to be pushed off the same exact thing. Like, this is just another podcast. What are you guys doing to push yourselves to be a better podcast than the other podcasts? You know what I mean? And what's a different brand? Why is this t-shirt brand better than this t-shirt brand? Why do I pick Bxactiv over Nike when Nike's been established and they make billions of dollars and are public? You know what I mean? Like, how do you differentiate yourself? And that's the part that I'm still learning and growing from that specific niche. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, there's some times when you wake up and you're like, should I even do this? And I still battle that fight too as well. I could easily go back to Dutch Bros, make six figures, operate, and be on autopilot, but I choose not to because this is like my passion, you know?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, that's amazing.
Kind of like that, like everything you just said, it's kind of like the whole, you can't compare your beginning chapter to someone's middle, someone's ending. Like, you're just not like, you're on your own path. You're on your own journey. You're learning what you need to learn. And that's what's going to separate you from everybody else.
Exactly. That can be for anything you do, even anybody's like weightlifting journey or business journey, or even like with schooling or whatever you do, you keep your mind to it. Like, you have to know that there's going to be people better than you. Like, that's the hard part. Like, you can be your best self, but just know there's somebody that's going to be a step ahead of you. So you have to stay and remain humble, or else you're just not going to make it in what world you're trying to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it.
So I'm taking notes. Makes my life easier when I take some notes and I can find the clip later. You wouldn't believe how many hours sometimes I spend trying to find like a perfect clip. It's like, if I write it down in the moment, I have a better chance of finding it. It saves me some time. So I'm not being rude. I apologize. I always like mean to tell people, it's like, hey, just so you know, if I'm looking down, I'm not texting, you're not boring, I'm just taking notes. But I usually forget, and then I stop in the middle of the podcast to explain that. So
taking notes.
Yeah. Hey, so there's one of my favorite books is called Tribes by Seth Godin. I don't know if you're familiar with that book, or if you've read that, Paul. Yeah, it's an incredible book. But as I was thinking about today's show, and I don't think I mentioned this last time, but I feel like it's a book. I think you would find it really interesting, because I think what you're doing is basically creating a tribe with your brand. Like, I know people that we've had on the show, like our friend Ryan Hughes. She loves your brand. A couple other people that we know that we're connected with that we've had on the show, they love your brand. Some people that got to know you through the contest, the competition, now follow you. And so when you have a brand like this, and there's this, it's a local thing, and people in Sacramento follow you, and then it spreads beyond that. Like, there is this tribe mentality, because I feel like when you know Bxactiv, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm kind of a part of that tribe. I'm kind of a part of that family. Like, is that something that you keep at the forefront of your mind when you're creating a new piece or when you're marketing stuff? Because I feel like you guys have a really strong tribe. I mean, obviously based on the competition alone, you have a really strong tribe, that people that love Paul Pearcey. But as far as your brand specifically, like when you're creating pieces, are you thinking about the people and how they're going to receive it and what that means to them?
Oh my gosh, 100%. If my brand wasn't built on my own culture and what I believe in, then I would just be a washed up brand like anybody else. The hard part is like I'm going into a premium like tech street activewear where a lot of people aren't going to be excited to know about A, the price, and B, like how everything is made, because it's going to be different. You know, it's going to be what I believe is the future of clothing. It's what I believe is cool. And it's what end of the day, what I'm trying to do with Bxactiv is create a culture that believes the same way, regardless of if it's people that vibe with me or not. You know, for example, if we have 100 people in the room and I make a t-shirt that every person will kind of love, all 100 people kind of love and might buy for $15 to $20, then now I just have a general population of people that like the t-shirt, you know what I mean? But if I have 100 people and then I create and design the t-shirt like this, for example, and then 15 people are just 1 to 200% into it. Like, I freaking love this. I don't want to go anywhere else. This is my clothing brand. This is what I want to rep. So what if the price is this, and this is premium stuff? Those people I take into account for, and I put them into that culture. And then those 15 people will find 15 more people that are about Bxactiv, about the brand, about the culture. And then it blows up into, instead of a general mass population of people kind of loving the stuff and buying it because it's kind of cheap, thousands and tens of thousands or however many people, starting from those 15 people out of that 100 that actually really, truly love and are really about it, are going to have more of a strong effect for my brand and my culture, because it's what they vibe with. It's what they really like. I'm not here to please everyone. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to make clothing that every single person's going to love, but I'm making clothing for when that one specific person really loves it. They're going to absolutely love it. And then they're going to be a customer for life. You know what I mean? I've always get these things in DMs like, you should make this with this. And it's like, you should make a bright green t-shirt with this, and this design. And I'm like, dude, that's not me. And if it's not me and I can't vibe with it, I won't make it. And if I do make it, then I'm just lying to myself. I'm just doing that to please others when I should be creating the brand that speaks me, that is Paul Pearcey first and foremost, and then anybody else that vibes with it becomes that culture of the Bxactiv people. That makes sense.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, I think that's like with any art, right? Any creative endeavor. I think if it's not coming from a genuine place, I mean, Deb's a writer. Paul, obviously you're creating, clothing and apparel and a brand. Like, if you guys aren't doing that from a genuine place, no matter how hard you work and no matter how hard you try, the consumer is going to know that. Like, that's going to come through. And it's like, oh, this is not genuine. Like, this was
copying. It'll instantly change to somebody. You're ultimately designing something to please everyone, but that's end of the day, you'll probably be copying somebody that's already done it. You know what I mean? Like, why do you want to do that? And the hard part is, and I have to say this to the people like listening, like, Bxactiv kind of was like that. You know what I mean? In the very beginning, it's like, where else do you start? Where does your staple brand start? And how do you create a culture? You don't really know. You know what I mean? And for me, that's one of the things that I wish I had a mindset now. I mean, then, like I have now, because I wanted to be that people pleaser. And, we're like, oh, everybody loves Paul. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I want that to be the same thing with Bxactiv, which is like kind of prosthetics turning into Bxactiv. So I made it to where, in quotes, everyone would like it. And then when I'm thinking about it in my head, I'm like, this is not the culture I want, because now people are already figuring out everything's going to be cheaper. Everyone's going to have the same exact design. Like, what's going to blow him up rather than the next person in line? So then I had to literally reform my thinking and mentality of like, hey, like this brand, I made it for myself at first. And then now I'm just making it for the people. Now I got to recreate my culture, recreate the brand. And that's what I did for like the last year and a half, to where now it's finally something I can be so proud of, because it's something of my own intellect. It's something that I thought of in my head, put it down on paper, sent it to somebody, get created, made. And then now anybody buying from this unit one drop, they're considered in my head like part of that culture, because this is something that I truly believe and love in this product, to where now if that person truly believes in the product, they're also going to buy into it as well.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. You have to stick with what you know. No, yeah. It's like with Josh's, with my writing example, I write like chick chick literature, like fiction, not literature, just chick fiction.
Literature.
Like, literature. No.
All right.
I don't even know that word.
Yeah.
Someone asked me like, oh, write a sci-fi book. I'd be like, I don't even, okay. Like, there's no way, like, I'm not going to do that. It's not who I am. I don't even like reading sci-fi. So that's it.
But you probably could do it though. You know what I mean? Like you probably could fake your way through a novel,
right.
but it's people are going to know.
Yeah. But put it next to a science fiction novel that somebody's renowned knows their actual passion. You're going to get blown out. Stick to the things that you're really passionate about, because you will succeed in that moment. Like you put me up against other clothing brands of the same type of tech for it, and I would love to say I would blow them out of water because I'm so passionate about it. You know what I mean? But who knows? That other person could be as passionate about it. But for me, on my side, it's like I know and I stick to with what I know and what I love, and I know that like I'm giving my absolute all if they're trying to do like something against with what I do and I believe in. You know what I mean? And that goes for anybody too as well. And if you kind of fake your way into doing something, it's not going to feel right. People are going to see it, and then at the end of the day, you're going to just be washed out, and then people are just going to have less motive to follow or be a part of your brand when you're just trying to people please everyone.
Right. 100%. Well, I'm going to try to hopefully word this in the best way I can. Hopefully this makes sense.
Okay.
But is it, you never know. Sometimes these things go off in weird directions, but is it possible for you to get too big with your brand? And when I say that, I mean, because you talk about the 15 people out of the 100, right? That just are absolutely passionate about certain pieces that you do and that you're creating for those 15 people. And it's like with anything, right? Like if you have a favorite musician and you first discover them, they may be an indie artist and you just love the raw passion, the raw talent, everything that goes into what they're doing. You just love it because it's very genuine, very authentic. As they grow, there's always that possibility that they have to put something out for the radio, right? And so they start commercializing it. And then all of a sudden the indie artist that you fell in love with is no longer that same indie artist because now they're more mainstream, they're more commercial. And some would say they sold out, right? Is that possible for you to get too big to where those 15 people that were rocking with you at the beginning no longer have that same connection that they once did when they were first, you know what I mean? They felt like they're part of like this exclusive club. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And here it goes two ways. It's like, I'm not going to tell you that I wouldn't want Bxactiv to blow up and be worldwide, because that'd be a lie. Of course I want Bxactiv to blow up and be worldwide, but I need to be intentional with what I do and what I make and what I create. And if I see myself falling in that sense, people are going to know, and it's going to hurt you in the long run. Yeah, sure, you'll be able to start selling stuff everywhere because like you're bigger. And at the end of the day, people don't really realize this, but if you make it into the market, you're making millions of dollars. It doesn't really matter what you do or what you put out. You can put out some random shit and people are going to buy it. And that's the hard part. But for me, I'm going to stay true to my stuff because I want to be that same level-headed person that had 15 followers to the same level-headed person that had 15 million followers. And I was just talking to somebody about this too as well. And I thought to my head is like, if I blew up and I changed the way and changed my thinking, then it wouldn't be Bxactiv, it wouldn't be Paul anymore. You know what I mean? It would just be another clothing brand. And for me to say that now is in big hopes of me, like, I want to blow up. I want to become that big to where I have this problem. You know what I mean? And a lot of people there in their head, like, well, I don't have to have that problem of growing big. It's like, well, then what's the point of even growing or starting a brand? You know what I mean? I welcome those challenges. I welcome those problems because I can't fully tell you something right now and be like, yeah, I would totally not do that until I've actually witnessed it and had to be a part of that. You know what I mean? Sure. So in my head right now, I could be like, I can stay 100%, 200% true. But what if Michael Jordan was like, hey, you got to do a collab, but it's something I don't believe in? It's fucking Michael Jordan. Like what would you pass that up?
Yeah.
It wasn't something I had believed in, then I would have to say no.
Right.
But in the day, if they give you a contract for this and this, then you're Michael Jordan, like you can just skyrocket. Like you have to think in your head now is like, do I give up part of my culture to be able to do that? Any person would want to say no, you know what I mean? But can you really say no when somebody like that or that opportunity arises? And I'll let you know when anything like that ever happens, because then I can be true to my word once that happens. Who knows? It could be the next time I'm on this podcast, something like that might happen. So
I hope so.
That'd be awesome. I feel about that.
Yeah.
At adversity, I welcome the challenge. Because at the end of the day, if I fail, I'm not a failure because I'm not somebody that stopped. You know what I mean? I'm failing, but I'm not a failure. And I hope that people that start an entrepreneur life and start a business know what the difference is. Because when people are failing, they're trying to get better and they're trying to pass through their failures. If you're an actual failure, that means you quit and you're done, you gave up. And I am not a failure because I'm failing, but I'm not a failure. I hope people understand if they listen to it, but like, that's how I kind of live by those different things because of the amount of challenges I've had to go through during this, like this whole endeavor of being a clothing company.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I totally believe, like, just the way you're talking, and I'm just, taking notes in my head, not on paper, like Josh, but like, I'm thinking like, this dude's like totally manifesting like what he wants. Like, I believe that that's real and that can happen. Like speaking it into existence, like not just talking about it, doing it too. But like, so yeah, I was going to say, do you agree in the whole like manifestation process? It seems like that you do that as well.
Oh my gosh. So much to the point to where I've found a picture of Will Smith with a blank t-shirt and threw Bxactiv on it just to write manifest. You know what I mean? Like I am huge when it comes to that because, and I always told people too, like when starting this, what do you do? I have a 5-year plan, which I actually learned from Dutch Bros, and anybody can apply this to their life and their business, or even just life in general. Is like, I had this 5-year plan. And it basically goes, what goals do I set in those 5? I mean, not even 5 years. I guess it's 5 goals. You go your 6 month, 1 year, 2, 3, and 5. And then you set high. It doesn't matter if you want to be a freaking astronaut. But you set your goals that can be realistic up to really high. And for example, I told myself my first year when I moved in 2020, I wanted to make $1 million. Just something crazy, you know what I mean? But I wanted making 6 figures. That's awesome because if I set my cap at 6 figures, I might have made half and not hit my 6-figure goal. You know what I mean? So if you limit yourself to what cap you think is reasonable, you're going to go less than that. And that's what I always have in my head. If you manifest something high and get something a little bit less than what you manifested, but it was already higher than you originally planned, you're going to hit those goals that you were unintentionally trying to get in the first place. And I am huge on that because I can tell you what, I have manifested so many things so high up and then gotten things that were something I wouldn't even have thought of I could have done if I manifested that specific thing right there, so that's something I could tell anybody and anybody listening to this podcast, like shoot high, aim to whatever you're going to get to. But at the end of the day, if you shoot high, you're already passing your plateau, what you were normally going to shoot for anyways.
Yeah. Love it. That's perfect. Yeah. Cause I think it's just something that people need to hear because sometimes with the whole failing and the failure and, or I think some people are superstitious and they're like afraid to say it out loud, or they're afraid to have those positive thoughts, or they think, no, I want to stay humble. Like, well, yeah, you can stay humble, but like, it's okay to manifest it, to say, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to aim for. I'm going to make it happen. And it doesn't have to necessarily be like linear, like exactly in the order that you think it's going to happen, because, to accept the failures to accept all that is just part of the process. But I think it's important for people to hear that it's okay to manifest and try to make something happen that you want to happen.
If I never manifested what my plans and goals were, I don't even think I'd make it a half the way I am right now, or even a 10th of the way I am right now, because manifesting things just kind of shows what you want to do and what you want to be. And then from there, the world is what you want it to be at that point. You know what I mean? It's like how you manifest is what you're going to apply yourself to and push yourself that hard to get there,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
love it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I have kind of an important question for you, man. Where do you display your winning belt? The belt we gave you for winning this whole contest, man. Where do you display that?
Actually on my mantelpiece that's on the outside of my hallway. So the funny thing is, people have to see it because anytime that we go through a hallway in our house, it's like right there. We've actually had it to where we had a party the other night for a friend and they were just like, what is this? I don't even know what it is. And
that's what most people say about our podcast. They're like, what is this podcast?
What is it?
Yeah.
Awesome. And it's just like those things, like I cherish all the things, whether they're little or small, because I don't care how much it costs to make that or what, it's still a prize to me. It's something that I'm always proud of. So I like displaying it out. You know what I mean?
Awesome. I like hearing that. And you could have, hey man, you could have said it's in a box, like tucked away in my garage. And it's like, at least it's in his house. I'm cool with that.
It's in the trash. Or at least it's in his trash. No,
yeah, that's 100%. I'm cool with it.
No way. That'd be like, oh yeah, he bought my t-shirt, but he like gave it to his dog. Like that doesn't help me.
Yeah, we play tug of war with it all the time, but she loves Bxactiv, I promise. Yeah.
Question mark?
Yeah. Hey, I didn't ask you this last time, but so obviously since following you for a couple of years now, your girlfriend is pretty active in your, it seems like obviously she's pretty active in your life, but then also pretty active in your business as well. Like, how important is that to have someone by your side, obviously a relationship that is there to support you in this journey? Because I imagine that is a pretty big test of a person's character and a pretty big test of a person's commitment to you as a person, because that journey has so many ups and downs and so many challenges. Like, I guess this is just a chance for you to brag about your girlfriend, but like, what is that? Like, how has that been, and how has that affected your relationship? If you don't mind me asking, it's kind of a personal question, but
no, it's totally fine. She's literally like the backbone of Bxactiv. Like, and she's seen me because I started dating her in October, and I started Bxactiv in March of the same year in 2018. So from March to October was very, very new. And then for her to see the brand, like, I want to be a part of this. She manifested it to be like her life. She does like little like remote stuff for her normal job, but she's like, in November, like, I'm gonna be done with this. I'm gonna do Bxactiv, whether we're making it or not. Like, I want this to be my life. And for me to have that support system makes me want to push harder, because at the end of the day, it's just like, I'm almost not building this brand for myself. I'm building it for her, future family, like all these different things. And if it wasn't for her, I don't think I'd even be close to where I'm at. Like, she's been a huge blessing, and I just hope that in the futures and years to come that like I can have her on my side as blown up Bxactiv in the way we started to the way we are when we're making millions. You know what I mean? Like, I'm manifesting millions. You know what I mean? So whatever it takes to get there, I'm going to do it. I know that she'll support me in every way. So like, without her, I'd be definitely dead in the water. I have a tendency to be like doing something and then look left and be like, oh, squirrel, or just like something like that. So she definitely keeps me in my tracks to make sure that all my accounts are ready, good to go. And to the point too, like, she does her own remote stuff, but she'll still drive over to Lincoln, which is like 30 minutes from our house, package a bunch of orders, send them to the post office, and make sure that the tasks I need to do are completed, and the tasks that somebody else could do, so I could focus on the tasks that I need to do complete. She's that person there to just help me step by step. So yeah, she's awesome.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing that. And it's cool. Anytime you guys post a picture together, it's just, you guys seem genuinely happy, and you guys seem like you work really well together. You know what? I had this horrible thought too. As I started asking that question, I'm like, I should have done a little more reresearch to make sure they're still together. It's like, this last week, like, does he breaks down the podcast? Like, oh no.
I have a funny time. I should have just totally just messaged you for the first 30. Oh God!
You should have, man. You should have. That's a missed opportunity.
Chance, missed opportunity. Dang it.
Hey man, if you would have done that, that would have made me like you so much more, because I would have done the same thing if I had the opportunity. I still like you. Don't get me wrong. I still like you, but that would have just taken it up like one more notch. That would have been incredible.
Opportunity.
Sometimes that happens. Like, I ask a question, I'm like halfway through, I'm like, I should have abandoned ship right now. I didn't do enough research on this one. I think it's only burnt me like once or twice where I ask a question and then it turns out it becomes real awkward, because, whatever I ask about, I was like, hey, what about this business? It doesn't exist anymore. Like, oh, all right.
Well, that's being genuine. That's you being genuine, man. End of the day, like, you're going to ask the same that anytime something like that happens, it happens in every type of business too, as well. So you just got to like live and learn, and remember, like, once you're making it, and like, watch, like, you'll have 1,000 more podcasts. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I remember like, that podcast with Tiffany, I said something I shouldn't have. And then there's this, it all just becomes like a little like mini milestones for you too, and you could look back like, oh, that was so funny.
We have so many of those. And like you said, we're failing. We're not failures. So
but we're failing, but in a good way though.
That's right. We just keep moving forward. Hey man, tell us a little bit about your podcast, because I think you were just starting your podcast when we had you on the first time, and I know it's gone through some different changes. I will say this: the set, your studio space, recording space is dope, and every time I see it, I'm jealous. I'm like, well, what are we doing, Deb? Like, you have blue, pictures on your wall. I have a blue background with books, and his is like a full-on studio.
Sometimes my wine bottles are in the background.
They make an appearance.
Just depends on how I want to set it.
Yeah.
And it's the funny part. Mine's not even a podcast. It's not even like a video podcast. For me, it's just like, I set a little specific spot in my office, in my warehouse, and you're like, this is comfortable. I got comfortable chairs. End of the day, I want people to be like as if they're guests. You know what I mean? Like, they're sitting in there, they're having fun. I don't want them to feel nerves. I don't want them to have to worry about whatever we're talking about, because at the end of the day, we're just sitting on these nice little black lounge chairs. We're talking, might be talking smack to each other, but it's cool. And I love the vibes of it too, as well. We got like Bxactiv, like banners up. We have like the nice wood in the background. We got a couple, we got concrete floors, a couple rugs and stuff like that. It's homely. and it feels like it's home. But anyways, just sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Sorry.
I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it.
The podcast formed like 3 different times. I had it was called the Bxactiv podcast, and then it was oh my gosh, I had another podcast. It was called, I can't even remember what it was called. But then the most recent one, we changed it to L2, or Live and Learn podcast, because my day to day is living and learning, and we want to bring people into our podcast who have either A, is living their dream, or B, is learning to live how they want to live, manifesting in all these different ways. So we've had people talk about how they're making millions now, but what they had to do to learn to get there. And sometimes the live and learn, that L can stand for like your L's in life. Like, what was your big L through your company that A, could have totally ruined you if you didn't swerve to a different path, or B, your L that helped change you to be that better person, that better brand, and to make your business better. So it's cool. We've had some interesting people. We've had to, we're nowhere near consistent like you guys are. We used to do like once every couple weeks, and I got busy. And then now it's just like, the hardest part I feel like is finding the people to have the time to come to the office. Because like we have people come to our office, but now I'm thinking in my head, like, it'd be kind of cool to just what you guys do, what you guys do, like, do the Zoom, you can see face to face. It's really cool, but we put it on the back burners right now. But the ironic thing you're talking about and saying that is like mid-July, we're gonna finally go full blown and like actually have some more guests coming in to where we can actually post weekly, have all those different things. And for me, like, our goal isn't to have hundreds of thousands of viewers. We kind of use it as a journal. You know, like one of the podcasts that I haven't posted yet, I'm talking about how if you're talking about adversity and like hard parts of being an entrepreneur, I was to the point to where I was like, you know what, guys, like, it's a week into this month, and I'm not sure how we're going to be able to do this, because we've been waiting for this drop for like last 8 or 9 months. So then our currency and our profits are just strictly through all of the old stuff that we've been doing like 50% off. So we've been literally living off of all this, and in my head, I'm like, how are we going to do this? And the funny part is, I even put in the end of the podcast, like, hey, you guys, you know what? I'm the type of person to figure something out. The next time I'm on here, I'm going to connect these two together, and I'll let you know how it happens. And I'm really big on faith. I don't know if I can talk too much about that, but that's just how I am. And for me, I was like, God, like, what can I do? Here, I'm here for it. Like, just lead the way. And 2 weeks later, got this absurd amount of this absurd account for Red Tag Collabs. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of t-shirts are being made, to where the fact that it paid for 3 or 4 months in advance of rent. And for me, I'm like,
wow,
you know,
that's incredible.
Like that's incredible. And people can say superstition, people can say it was just a stroke of luck, but I know where I feel, how I am about that, and like how my faith is, to where I was like, you know what, like, now I can use my podcast to be some sort of journal for people to like not give up and try and find a way. And my girlfriend always tells me, she's like, you know what, no matter what you do, if you have $0 or 10,000 or 20,000 or negative 5,000, you find a way to make it happen. So, and she tells me that all the time. So it's like, I found a way to make it happen. And the cool part is, now I have everything recorded and stored in this little journal of mine, which I like to call the L2 podcast. So for anybody who wants to know, like you're talking about, like, hey, how'd you do this? And how'd your business do this? Or how'd your warehouse grow? There's going to be a podcast about it, to where anybody can literally do what I do if they just listen to that podcast.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And well, it's exactly like at the beginning, I was like, someone who's listening to this and someone's going to think, where do I start? Where do I begin? What do I even do? Exactly. So there's part 2 for that, for what they need to listen to the podcast, so they can see step by step all the things that you did, because that's important, because that's how, like you said, like you YouTubed everything, like people sharing their experiences and how they learned, like that's important. So for you to get your own personal journey and your content out there is going to help somebody.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And even if one person gets value from any type of podcast or book or whatever that they do to help like grow themselves, like, it's worth it.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. I don't think, Deb, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if anybody listens to our podcast and think one day I'm gonna listen back to this and learn something, unless we have an awesome guest on. But like, if it's just you and me, there's no way.
But you don't know that. That's the thing. You don't know that.
That's true.
unless, unless it's Nicole or Christine, they don't tell us.
That's true. That's true. We have very specific people. Yeah. No, I'm kidding, man. I think you're right. You never know. Like even through, like we've joked about that before. Like, even like when we just talk about nonsense for a whole hour, just Deb and I, every once in a while, like it will, something will pop up. Like Deb will say something about her own life that I'm sure is helping someone that's listening. You know what I mean? So even in the nonsense, like some good stuff will definitely happen for sure.
Well, like the podcast is connectable. Like if it connects with somebody's life, then they're gonna find value to it and then love it.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. Hey, I had a question, but I interrupted myself with that dumb thought. I don't know. It's gone now. Do you have anything, Deb?
Yeah. Well, Anyway, I feel bad because I said two of our Nicole and Christine, but I forgot our other friend Paul. The Pauls. You guys just love it. Our other friend Paul.
Yeah. A lot of Pauls, a lot of Nicoles, a lot of, yeah.
A lot of people. But no, so not that you have to like share your secrets or anything with us or, but like what I could tell you're probably always thinking of like what's next for your business. So like, I'm sure you have lots of plans and lots of thoughts, but is there anything you can tell us or tell the listeners, like what's next for Bxactiv or like go ahead.
So basically in the next year, we plan on doing quarterly drops. It's hard because like when you first talked with us, we were just doing like monthly drops, like random monthly drops here. I'll print something and I'll have it sent out. But now that we're connecting with an overseas supplier and then getting everything fully custom made and like, dude, the drops are so expensive. Like, for example, like one drop can cost 50 grand, the next one drop 100 grand, and I have to wait 3 months just for the product to get here and go back and forth. You know what I mean? And this one took like 9 months. So for us, hopefully, we're calculating quarterly drops, and since we did drop one, it'll probably be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and each thing specific to what I've designed and also what's current. For example, like I'm not going to do like a gigantic winter jacket in the summer, you know what I mean? So everything is going to be planned out accordingly. So we don't have too much. We have drop 3 and drop 4 in the works. But then after that, like we try to stay 2 or 3 ahead, but we don't want to go too far ahead to where my mind changes every month. You know what I mean? I'll make something and then send it in and realize, I don't want that made anymore. Then that's just a waste of time. So we have a lot in the works. It's really cool. We want our warehouse to be a little bit more refurbished. Get new like rackings, different boxes to hold all our stock, because at the end of the day, like if you don't have your stock in the right spot, like it just looks kind of trashy. And we want, now that we're in this really awesome space, we want to really like push Bxactiv to the next level. So even the little mini details that we were overlooking in the past, because it's just kind of starting, now that we're trying to grow and blow, we're trying to get all those little pieces in order. So when like everything comes in handy, like when all the stuff comes in versus when people come and visit, all of it like looks and feels the way we want Bxactiv to be portrayed. So
nice.
I like that.
Cool.
Well, speaking of like how you're portrayed too, I'm gonna say this. One of the things I like about your guys' apparel, at least the pieces I've gotten, is it makes me feel like I'm in better shape. You know what I mean? Even in those moments, like when I'm definitely not. It's like, oh yeah, like I walk out of the house, I'm like, I feel like I'm in shape. At least I'm hiding it. So I'm being dead serious. Like it's a good feel, man. Like it has a good fit, and it does make me feel like, it makes me feel good, which is kind of the point of what you wear, right? Like you want what you wear to not only look good, but you want it to make you feel good, and it makes me feel good.
Honest for a while, look good, feel good. Like that's
100%.
That's the thing.
Yeah. So I just want to point that out. Like it makes me feel like I'm in much better shape. I can't fool my wife. My wife's like, I know what's going on under there. Calm down. It's like, oh, it's still, the public doesn't know though. Let me ask you this. Okay, this is the thought that I had earlier, and this, we want to be respectful of your time and get you out of here soon. But I don't think I asked this last time. But are you still working with? Is it Keone? Yep. Yeah, you still work with him?
Gosh, so ironic. The funny thing is like when we had our 9-month hiatus waiting for the new stuff, we didn't really have much to shoot video. So I was like, hey, we'll do stuff here and there. But like, he's like, oh, don't worry, I can find them some connects. And Jared, my photographer, and Keone wound up really becoming like good close friends to where they would do content together. So if any big name needed content, it'd be like a video and photographer at the same time, you know? And then now Keone's working with a lot of big producers, and he is the main videographer for this guy. I think his name is Neffex, Neffex. He's like a a punk rock-ish type singer. And he's super famous. And now he's working and he's so busy to where like I have to schedule specific times just to get a video in him. So yeah, we're still working together, but we're not like the main source of his videography anymore, which is, it sucks because like I freaking love that guy, but I got to respect him because he's just so busy. He hustles so hard and he travels months at a time. He'll do like 2 weeks straight of like working for the next couple months. You know what I mean? And then he'll just go out to, I don't know, the boonies or Utah for a month, and him and his girlfriend. It's really cool to watch those videos too as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, still with them when we can. And once this new drop happens, we're literally going to go crazy with them. So
that's awesome. Yeah, well, I actually became aware of his content and his, you know, his filming and all that stuff because of a friend of ours, Coach Chris Horner over at Castro Bay High School. He was doing a ton of stuff there, and but I think he went there, right? Keone went there. And so I started seeing like the Friday night highlight reels. I'm like, this is pretty dope.
The one with like the helmet coming out and like all like slow-mo,
the smoke stuff and all that stuff. Yeah. I'm like, who did this? And it's like, oh, this was a student. And then we got connected with you, and then I started seeing you tag him. I'm like, oh, that's the same dude that I started following because of Coach Horner. But so the reason I asked you that, I wanted to learn from my almost disastrous girlfriend question, just in case you guys were broke up. So I want to make sure you guys are still working together. But since you guys are still doing stuff together, I'm always fascinated when a brand or a business owner, entrepreneur works with a photographer or a videographer, because there has to be, again, connectable, right? Like there has to be a connection. Like you can't just if you really want it to be dope, if you really want it to be something that connects with the audience, you can't just pick some random person off the street that does videography or photography. Like it has to be someone where the subject is connected to the person that's doing the shooting, right?
Exactly.
So how, like, at what point did you realize, okay, this is my guy. Like I connect with this guy better than anybody else?
No, the funny part is a girl that used to work, still works at Dutch Bros, is his sister, and we're all good friends. And back when I was doing my old podcast, I had another friend that was helping me be the co-host, and they were really good friends. And then I was posting how I needed a videographer and all that stuff. She's like, you know what, my brother does videography. He's like only 18 or 17. I can't remember at the time. He's like, but he does good stuff. And he was doing stuff with Casserole, with a couple other people. And I was like, oh, this guy could be kind of good. But then I was working with another person who was like, I was paying him like a good amount of money. So like, oh gosh, I want to work with this guy. But then Keone's like, dude, let me make some stuff for you. Like, let's see how it goes. And then I just fell in love with all his content. You know, I was like, dude, this guy's it. So then like he did some stuff just per commission for a little while. And then I was like, you know what, like I got to put you on payroll for a little bit. So we were paying him the month to the month every single time we had a shoot and video. He was there and it was awesome. And I actually missed those days because once we found that little niche in that videographer and he knew what I liked, I didn't really have to do anything. I was like, hey, I want this, and this. I need smoke here if I want to. Let's set it. You know what I mean? To the point I could trust him for I don't even need to be there if I didn't, if I wasn't going to be there. But I'm always present with all that stuff because that's like my favorite thing to do, you know?
Yeah.
So once I found that out, it took maybe a couple months of just going back and forth. But then even to this day, I wait for him when he's available rather than searching out for another videographer, because I would rather wait a month to get all the content done within a couple of days than to maybe get a good content through somebody who possibly might be good, because I already know Keone's value. You know, he knows his value towards Bxactiv as well.
Yeah.
I love it. That's a perfect answer. Yeah.
Right. Well, it speaks to how you value quality, because like all that just said, like, you're not just going to like, just take anybody. Like you'd rather wait to have that person. So, and that speaks to your brand as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
100%. Deb, do you have anything else for Paul before I have like a bunch of other questions, but I'm not going to do that to him. He can go, this podcast can go forever. So he's a busy man. So, do you have any other questions for him?
I love going back to the whole, hey, someone wants to do this, so how can you help? I mean, aside from listening to your podcast and, going on YouTube, is there anything that you could just like drop a bomb of knowledge on to someone that wants to start their business or is looking for the next step in their own business of like, I don't know, anything, what's the word I'm looking for? Josh, I told you it's close to my bedtime. Any words of encouragement is what I was trying to say.
This is why Paul doesn't have a podcast co-host anymore. This kind of stuff right here.
I'm
made after 8:30.
Yeah. The people 7 o'clock. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna do it tomorrow at 2 a.m. You're like, what?
Yeah.
So The hard part is like, there's no like get rich quick, get entrepreneurship. There's no fast forward button. You know what I mean? Like there's the point to where like you can tell people where to like how to start. And honestly, like when you say like any other than doing podcasts and all that stuff, like that's how I did it. I did YouTube podcast, and then anybody who I vibed with and felt like they had meaning and value to what my brand was, I focused and I just really like searched onto them. And it's hard because like I don't have any other suggestions to anybody listening to this podcast other than doing what I was doing. And it literally is YouTube. Getting everything legal, for example, go to LegalZoom, get everything legal before that. Like if you have an idea, please do that first, because if you find something that's really cool, there's bound to find somebody who's going to try and take your stuff away. You know what I mean? And then get good with e-commerce. That was one thing as well. I use Shopify, and if anybody uses or does any clothing, Shopify is amazing because the multi-platform it has, you can do third party, you don't have to do third party, everything's embedded. So that's something I had to kind of go back and forth with forever. And then the way you progress yourself too as well. I messed up on Instagram and all the kind of social media stuff. I just kind of posting lame pictures, and lame pictures equal lame quality in people's minds. And they're like, I don't want to buy that stuff. And then I transitioned to Keone and then Jared and all that stuff, and it kind of blew up more. So find yourself good people who will really push and promote your social media to the best capable knowledge that you want to be with the range that you can afford, obviously. But at the same time, if you want the best, you're going to have to spend some money. You know what I mean? That's the hard part. So from when I found Keone and then I had Jared, it really skyrocketed what Bxactiv would look like. Because anytime you go to the page now, you could look like down, like you go to like page like number 2000, like, oh God, why did he post that selfie? Gross. And like now you're like, whoa, what the heck? Like this is crazy. You find that and you find that niche, and then you'll be able to really, really thrive and just strive as well. And the one last thing too as well is your ad spends. Anybody who wants to find out about you is not going to be able to find out about you if you don't have type of ad spends. And it sucks because nowadays algorithms, nobody will find you unless you're literally spending money through their platform to find it. You know what I mean? So find somebody who really knows how to work the algorithm when it comes to ad spends, or just YouTube again and learn from there, because that's going to be your niche to help you blow up. Because one person's going to see through your ads and be like, this is really cool. Tell their next 5 or 10 family members and friends. And if you times that by 5 or 10 different people, and then you figure out how your ad spends are going to work with your social media, it'll blow up, and it'll just keep like Ferris wheeling, coming back and forth with more people checking on your page.
Awesome. Love it. That was great advice. Good job. That was
okay, I felt bad. I don't have a full fast forward button, but this is what I did.
No, that was perfect. Just all those things, even like Shopify and the LegalZoom, like those are things that I think people need to know. Like I wouldn't freaking have known any of that. So that was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So. And if people are looking for like a quick way, like you said, a get rich quick, then you're in the wrong space then. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm 7 years into this plus, and I still haven't taken money out of my company because I want it to grow.
Yeah.
So
it's awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, as always, man, we appreciate your time. Where can they follow you? Website, social media, podcast, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I have a couple of social medias. Bxactiv is Bxactiv, which has a link tree, which makes it realize link trees are amazing. It makes it easier for all the different social medias. We have 2 websites because we're calling it the Bxactiv outlets, basically from 2018 to 2021, all the styles that you've come to know and love are all like 50% off on that one at bxactiv.com. And then all our premium gear, which we call the unit 001 and 002 and so forth, is bxav.shop. So that stuff has all the stuff, and we're transitioning from like giving so many discounts on this outlet to like, dude, like you got to know the quality of this is worth no discount. So it's like all these transitions are pretty crazy, and we had to do 2 separate websites just to get the point across. It's crazy. And then my personal's Paul Pearcey, Paul_Pearcey.
There we go. Cool. Deb, where can they follow us?
It's my turn. Twitter at Connectable Pod, and Instagram at Connectable Podcast, and YouTube, if you guys are watching right now, that's where you can find us, and Facebook. I think
that's it. Yep, you nailed it. You got it. Paul, man, thank you so much. We will continue to follow you and just continue to support you, man. We appreciate what you're doing. with your brand and the community, all that stuff, man. Like, it just, like I said, we don't have people on this podcast unless we think they're worth having the conversation with, man. This is your second time, so that should tell you how we feel about you.
And he's the champion.
He's the champion. Oh yeah, you want to talk any trash before we get out of here? Like a little WWE promo? It's like,
that's the hard part. I'm not a trash talker, man. It's so bad. I know I'm too much of a nice guy.
Okay, how about this? Like, you just move your mouth a little bit, and then I'll dub something in.
Yeah. Like,
perfect.
Not kidding.
Okay.
That's great.
You can put like, you smell what the Rock is cooking on there. That'd be great.
Perfect. Hey, you know what, man? I know the guy. Hey, Jordan, I know you're listening. You have a job to do. My brother will take care of it. Don't worry.
Oh my God.
That being said, I apologize for anything that he's going to make you say. So,
I'm excited.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. Good luck with everything coming up for you. And we'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, man. Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable Podcast.